Okay. Hi, everyone. My name is Walt Marchbanks. I'm the Passenger Programs and Services Manager with the Port of Portland. I'd like to thank everyone for attending our third ever virtual PDX People Program Quarterly Awards event. Today is a great opportunity to share some of the great stories that we've received about customer service success over the past quarter. And once a quarter, employees from each of the 10 industries recognized at PDX are honored. And today is really our opportunity to thank you for all that you do every day at PDX. So we've already seen some great changes at PDX, things like our new toll plaza, our Concourse E extension, and the closure of Concourse A, but I can assure you that the very best is yet to come. So as airport employees, it's important that we all know about what's going on in the airport and what we can expect to see in the future. So today it's my honor to introduce the Port of Portland's Chief Project Officer, Vince Granato, who's going to share some great insights about what we can expect to see with these upcoming projects. Vince Granato assumed this new role in December of 2019. This position was created out of a need for more focus and energy around all of the projects that are going to be happening, collectively known as PDX Next, over the coming years. That's going to increase PDX's capacity by over 40%, which is very exciting. Now, Vince has been with the port for over 33 years and has served in a number of capacities, most recently as Chief Operating Officer with the Port of Portland. So without any further ado, it's my honor to introduce Vince Granato. Take it away, Vince.
Right on. Well, thanks very much. Really appreciate getting the opportunity to be here and talk a little bit. This was always one of my favorite events. I was so thrilled when Walt asked me to come and speak to you all. I wish I could be there and see you all in person and obviously get to share some of this, but we will do the best that we can with what we have today and doing it on by video. So the PDX Next program is really exciting, and I think there's just a lot to happen, and we've reached this timeline here in the program that all of a sudden things are really starting to change, and you're going to see even more change coming up forward. So I'm going to walk through some of the things that we're working on right now, not just with the terminal core, but the whole program itself. And Jesse's going to help me. And so Jesse, if you can go to the next slide here, that'd be great. So you all have seen this, right? Here's our lovely ticket counter, and that's about what it looks like these days, with not very many people going through. But obviously it is a little old, it's a little dated. It's been a long time since we've actually been in the main terminal building and done anything here in particular. So we're really excited to be able to upgrade it. And ideally, what we're looking for is to create more flexible operations. Right now, the building as it exists is really hard to move around through, and it's hard for us to make any changes as the whole travel experience continues to change throughout the time. So this will give us the opportunity to really do that. So here's what the old was, and the next slide will show you a little bit about what we're thinking about going forward. And you can see it's slightly different than what we have today. And what we're really looking to do is to create a much more open and more, again, flexible, adaptable space that will serve us going forward. The plan is this will take us out to 35 million or even 45 million annual passengers. Obviously, we'll be a while before we ever get to that. But what you're looking at right here is the ticket lobby. So you will have just walked in the front door, and you'll notice obviously the orientation is a little bit different than what it was before, where you walk in and it's this solid row of ticket counters, and now what you have would be a much more open and flexible space. The wood ceiling that you can see is all going to be wood that we're going to source here locally, ideally from, we're working with some of the tribes to be able to identify particular forests that we'll be able to get that from. This was a little scary, obviously, with the fires that went on before, that some of the two mills that we were going to be getting the wood for this were close to being in all of the wildfires. They both survived just fine, but it's a little bit nerve-wracking when all of that's going on. So But again, what you see is as you walk in the front door, you're going to be able to see all the way through to the back. So it'll be an intuitive journey for you as you come into the ticket lobby, that you can see, okay, here's where I'm headed. Today, you kind of have to move off to either the left or the right, and you can't ever see exactly where you're going. And this one, we're creating much more light and open space for people to be able to move. And the other thing that we were worried about too here is obviously is with COVID and additional spacing, this gives us the opportunity to add other parts of the travel experience if it turns out that we end up doing that. Is there going to be some kind of a medical check at some point and somewhere, right? We'll have the space to be able to do it. So it's really exciting to see what this is. Obviously a whole lot more natural light, and again, more flexible space for us. So Jesse, if you can go to the next slide. Our architect is ZGF, and they have been the primary architect for us in all of the terminal design work for the most part for the last 30 years or more. And the theory being, as they've looked at it, is kind of this using the natural landscape that we're known for here in the Northwest, so sort of this walk in the woods. And so you'll see there is quite a bit of what is called biophilia. What we'll also see is trees and plants throughout the building to create kind of this calming experience as you're going through, because we know the travel experience is stressful. And so right now what you've done is you've come through the ticket lobby, and so the next phase is you kind of have this tree canopy either to the right or the left of you as you're proceeding through to the security checkpoints. Again, more open light and more trees and plants throughout the journey as you're heading into probably one of the more stressful parts of the experience. And we have mapped the terminal building to say, where is high stress, where is low stress, where are there opportunities for us to try to reduce and alleviate some of the stress. To the right and the left in this picture, you'll also see some of the concession space. This will be we haven't named it yet, but it will be the new, call it the Oregon Market or call it the Clock Tower Plaza, whatever. It'll be part of right now we're calling it the seam area, that there will be pre-security opportunities for concessions before you head into that through the process. This picture here is you've come out now through the other end. You've gone through security, and you're now into the post-security concessions area to the left and to the right. We're trying to create as much flexibility here also in the spaces, more open, more light, but we're working with the concessions team on exactly how to construct all these. Again, these are renderings, so what you're seeing is just a concept. We are getting into more of the detail on that as well. This rendering is you would be facing south and looking out onto the extended long runway on the south side. You see the hanging gardens that we'll have above that area today, which is just, it will be a seating area. Again, this is also where you've started to perhaps decompress now, having got through the travel experience. I'd say also to the left in that upper area there, you'll see some people, and that is the Alaska Airlines lounge. And so they are going to have a substantial increase in the size of that lounge. We're working with them on exactly how big that's going to be and the whole design of it. But that will be the location for their new lounge. Obviously, the new nodes, this is what we're considering a new node, similar to what we've had before. The old ones will be demolished and replaced with this new open area. Okay, if you can go to the next slide. What we've also looked at in that concessions space is, you look at Portland and you go to downtown, right? It was designed very clearly to have blocks, and they're 200 by 200, and so lots of simple areas in order to allow for a different kind of a shopping experience than what you see in other places. So when you think of Northwest 23rd, perhaps Mississippi, and certainly in downtown Portland. We're trying to create the same kind of a space in the concessions area that will be in these smaller, more intimate locations, similar to what you've already experienced here in Portland. It's really important for us, and we've thought about this in the design, that obviously it's different than what we have today, but we still want to retain the soul and the warmth and the experience that people have come to know and love at the Portland Airport. And so the shopping, we know, is a big deal, and we don't want to have it be just kind of a big mall area. We want to try and create an intimate space, and so we have kept that same area in the in the concessions area as you exit the checkpoints. Okay, if you can go to the next slide, please, Jesse. And again, what you're also going to find is we're trying to create this, when you think about Portland, obviously lots of wetlands, parks, and forests. Most people are within walking distance of a park. We're trying to recreate that as much as we can within the footprint. You know, we have this big open space as we're designing it, and again, it's being done for flexibility purposes, and it's going to be a really great outcome. But for those of you that maybe have traveled internationally and seen a lot of these larger open space places, you know, I think sometimes they can be a little cold, in my opinion. I've seen a few of them in my travels around, and they're just kind of these big open places. So we're trying to still create that warmth and the feel of that in the design. And so there is quite a bit of landscaping that we're doing throughout the facility and at different levels. There'll be stuff around seating and planter areas, obviously trees as well. And so a real mixture of that within the entire landscaping plan. So we're very excited about that whole part of the component. Okay, if you can go to the next slide, please. So there's a lot going on. Obviously, you've seen, as you're out there, right, you're seeing what's going on here. And so hopefully we'll give you a little bit of sense of what the timeline is, so you can see kind of where we are today. We're going to close the connecting corridor in 2021 in January. So for a period of time, we will not have a connection between the north side and the south side. We are working with the operations team to make sure that we're obviously clear on the signage. So if somebody does come in and needs to connect from one side to the other, they will have to go through security. We looked at potentially keeping it, long story, but at the end of the day, we are repurposing that connecting corridor, and I'll show you some of that here in a little bit about how we're going to use it to get people through the construction zone at the time we're there. Around April 1st of next year, the Clock Tower Plaza will close and all those stores. And so what we're doing is creating really a pretty good sized workspace for the contractor. Hoffman Skanska is a joint venture that's doing the work, and we're going to be closing all of that off. What we're having to do is to build out into what we know as the alleyway in between Concourse C and D, and we're going out there 150 feet. We're building that out. That's where the new security checkpoints will go. That will happen first. Then we have all of the demolition and the space behind it. So it's a very complicated construction process, and I've got some slides here that will show you just a little bit about that. In 2022, the new roof, and I want to talk a little bit about the roof. The new roof will be a seismically resilient building. We're obviously thinking about that here in our area, and so the terminal is being designed to withstand a 9.5 earthquake. We couldn't do that to the existing facility. It was built in 1955 before there were such things as seismic codes. So we are building a seismically resilient roof over the entire structure. That'll be assembled remotely and then brought over and put into place. That allows us to have a much more obviously seismically resilient than what it would take to actually demolish the entire facility. That would have been obviously very expensive and almost impossible for us to operate. So we've decided to do the roof over the new building. That roof is complete in 2023. And then we will open a portion of the building, the new western expansion, where the new security checkpoints are, and then we'll open the main terminal in late 2023, and then finish the whole thing off in about 2025. So it's as somebody has said, it's like we're going to do open heart surgery while we're running a marathon at the same time. It's an incredibly complicated construction process, but I think we have a very good plan, and the contractor has really evaluated so many different alternatives to make sure that it'll go as smoothly as possible. It's never going to be easy, and it'll be loud, it'll be dusty, you'll probably smell some things at some point in time, but we're going to be making sure that we communicate with all the tenants as we go along through the entire process to make sure they understand what's happening when and for how long. All right, and if we can go to the next slide. So we did some surveys with all the employees to identify what the needs are as we've done and gone through the design. So there will be a new employee break room. We used to have one here many, many years ago, back when I very first started down in the bag makeup area. Obviously that got eliminated as we grew, but there will be a new employee break room. Obviously a whole lot more space for social distancing. You know, we're anticipating, as you look at passenger traffic, probably getting back to the level of 2019, probably in around the time when we open up the new building. But the nice thing is there'll be a lot more space for folks to be able to, as they go through their travel journey. There'll be a lot more art, a number of different opportunities for art. We're working right now, we have an art committee. So, and we're also ensuring that we're using a lot of the existing art. There's some really important pieces, including the Louis Bunce piece that's in the main terminal building that we are preserving, and we will be displaying in the new area as well. But there'll be a whole new art program as well. And so including, there'll be digital art, and we're also looking at the potential to have a bit of a perhaps even a small little art museum that we will curate because there's going to be some space dedicated to that. We look at a better connection to public transportation, so we're redoing the TriMet light rail platform and creating a much more open space down there. TriMet is putting in another track. As you know, there's only one track leading into the terminal building, which creates some challenges for them operationally, but this will allow for 2 tracks going into the terminal building, which will speed up the operation there as well. And then obviously a whole lot more food and beverage selections. The concessions team will be going through a process at a later point in time to identify those opportunities that will be available. And again, we still want to make sure that we're keeping our warm feel, and the local concepts are still incredibly important to us. And we'll be working with that community to make sure there are plenty of opportunities to keep the local brands and local concepts here in place. And then faster Wi-Fi. This gives us the opportunity to have a whole lot more beacons that will display the Wi-Fi signals throughout the building. Right now, there's lots of walls, and there's a lot of dead spots in the terminal, and this will allow us to have a much more better coverage and faster coverage too. So I think there's a lot of good things for employees. It's going to be some challenges to get through it once we get through it, but once we get to the other end, it'll be good. So let's go to the next slide now, Jesse. This is out in the alleyway that you're seeing right now, and what we're doing is preparing the area. This is the space that we will be expanding the building, the main terminal building out here. This is 150 feet away. You can see the existing connecting corridor. That's going to be dismantled, and we're going to put half of it on the north side of Concourse D, and half of it on the south side of Concourse C, and we will be pulling people out of the building and using those connecting corridors to connect back into the main terminal building through the construction process. Here we'll be installing new columns, and this will be where the new security checkpoints will be in place. So we have to build this space first before we can actually go back and remodel and renovate the existing terminal building. So we've already gotten started out here, so with underground utilities. And I think the next few slides talk a little bit about the construction process, and I'll go through that relatively quickly. So Jesse, if you can keep going here. So you can see where the existing terminal building is. You can see the nodes as they're there. I'm not sure if my cursor shows up here or not, but there's the south side and there's the north side. We'll be out here. So Jesse, if you can just flip through these relatively quickly, what we're going to do here is install new columns. Those are the big Y columns, and you can keep right on going here. And then we will be sliding sections of the roof in one at a time. These roof sections are going to be constructed over by the fire station, and so they'll be constructed offsite and rolled into place here. Eventually, this is a shot from across by the fire station looking back towards the terminal. We've got a fabrication yard here, and so this will be a very complex construction process here as we get those things across the field and put into place. But that's how we're going to do that, and should be pretty exciting when we get there. This is a picture of some of the wood trusses, and this is from a shop down in Eugene. And so there, obviously, you can get a sense of the scale and the size of these. There are 440 of these trusses that we're going to be constructing. And again, this is not all of them. This is, and there will be other wood, but these are the main support trusses that will be throughout the building. We're working on the color of this right now. To me, this is a little too whitewashed. We're trying to get a warmer color to it so it has the look and the feel, but this will all be sourced from local forests here and sustainable forests as well. So we're making sure that there is a process called FSC, Forestry Sustainable Council, that all of our wood will be from the sustainable sources. So we're excited about that as well. Okay, we can keep going to the next one. So there's a lot happening. You know, I'm giving you kind of the big picture stuff, but in throughout the rest of this year, we're working on the bag claim office build out. So we're moving those down on the south side. The bypass construction, again, this is where we're going to start to demolish the connecting corridor at some point in time here. Right now we're building the areas where we're going to let people out. It's over by gate E2. And then it'll be over at gate B1 as well. We're moving the airline ticket offices. They're going to go in trailers under the end planing roadway as you go up the ramp there. So those are going to happen here in November. And then obviously in 2021, a whole lot more stuff goes on. The MAX station will reopen. It's closed right now through the end of this year. And so in January, we'll reopen the MAX station. The rental car center will open August of next year, and that is a whole new building that we're constructing across the way, just to the south of the existing parking garage. And the first will be utilized by all rental cars, and so they will move into August of next year. And then obviously we're doing a B remodel as well. And so that we can get Alaska and Horizon off of the end of Concourse C. That will open in November of next year. So we're on track to do that. That'll be a beautiful facility as well. So we're very excited to give Alaska a brand new home. I know that we've really appreciated their cooperation in operating off the end of C for some period of time, but I know they're going to be ready to get into a nice new facility that'll open next year. Okay, the next slide. This is the rental car. This is a rendering of the rental car center. So this is, again, just across to the south of the P1 garage. The first floor will be where cars will operate. Floors 2, 3, and 4 there are going to house all the tenants that are currently in the terminal building that need to get moved out so that we can do demolition. So the police department, badging, the communications center, TSA is moving over there. So we're building this facility that's currently under construction. It'll be open in July. So here's a picture of it. As you see it, this was just about a week ago, I think. And so this is coming out of the ground. Obviously, we're going to have that enclosed by the end of this year. And so all of the folks that are currently operating in the terminal building are going to move out over here. So all the mezzanine spaces that are, everybody who's up there, we're relocating. And they'll they move in July of next year, start to move in July with the plan to be open and fully operational by August 1st. So this is a really important building to get done, because this has to get done before we can go in and do the demolition in the main terminal. Okay, what else we have? So this is the top deck of the new parking garage, which is another project that we've got going on. So this is a consolidated parking and a rental car facility. So we're adding 2,400 public parking stalls, which candidly we probably don't need right now, but we will. And we had the same issue when we built the second parking garage. We were concerned about that, and it filled up very, very quickly. But 3 floors will be for the rental cars, and so all rental car brands will be able to come on site, be in this garage. They'll move out of P1 and P2. They'll come over here, and there'll be additional parking. You know, one of the good things around this is that it is creating additional parking spaces both for contractors and for employees that we're continuing to do. So while we have the space, we're going to have people use it closer in. It keeps buses off the road, keeps other shuttle buses off the road. That's good for congestion, good for the environment. So while we have the capacity close to the building, we're going to use it as much as we can. Over time, as things fill up, we'll have to move people around, but we should be good from a parking perspective for a while. And this is rendering for Concourse B. This is what this will look like. This is where Alaska and Horizon will go. So to the left, where you can see some plantings up there, you see some people walking up there. Those will be gates B1, 2, 3, and 4. There will be a large hold room. Just before you walk down to where you can see the stairs on the right, the lower level here, this will be the hold room that is basically the equivalent to the old Concourse A. This is where all the seating will be for gates 6 through 14, I want to say. So all of the Horizon ground load positions will be here. So you will go out, you can see the B6 on the lower left on the screen there. You'll go out there and there'll be a covered walkway to go out to the Horizon aircraft and some of the Alaska that you have obviously all experienced. So again, a much more open space. Screen Door is planning on opening a restaurant there, so you'll be able to look out over the site, and so you won't have to sit downstairs if you don't want to. There'll be room upstairs as well to mill about before you actually get on your plane. And again, this opens in November of next year. This is what it looks like. Yeah, this is also about a week ago. You can see that's the elevator shaft that's being constructed right there in the foreground. So this is all moving along. Steel will start to go up on the covered walkway this week. And it's so, you know, once we get out of the ground, the steel comes up and it really does start to take shape. This will come together very, very quickly. Again, Hoffman Skanska is doing a great job here. So we're still on schedule and on budget with all of these projects. So we're very proud of that. Okay. You know, carpet. Will there be carpet? Of course there'll be carpet, right? It's we still have a little bit of this. This is probably a shot down off of Concourse E, where we still have some of it, and we will have carpet. It's important for us to have a mix of hard surface and carpet. Carpet also keeps it warm, right? It keeps it feeling like a little bit of home. We'll figure out where to put that. We're still evaluating how much of it will be a hard surface, how much of it will be carpet. But of course, we still going to want your foot selfies, and because everybody still loves our airport. And you know, when we went through this process and we did the surveys to talk about the design, what we heard from everybody was, we love our airport, don't mess it up. And we take that very seriously, and I certainly do. It's very personal to me, you know, having been here for as long as I have. to make sure that we retain the things that we really love about the airport, but still grow a little bit. And the travel experience has changed significantly, and we want to make sure that we're still being true to that as we go forward. So I think, and this is a rendering here of kind of what the whole thing will look like when it's all said and done. A new terminal building, new parking garage, the new rental car center, the new Concourse B. So in just 4 short years, it'll be challenging to get through it, there's no doubt, but at the end of the day, when we're done with it, it's going to be a really great facility. I think something we'll all continue to be very proud of. So we have all kinds of ways to communicate with people. We've put some monitors out in the terminal now to try and push some information out to you. You can sign up for email updates. We have a whole website at FlyPDX, at FlyPDX for Twitter, Instagram, pdx.com for employees as well. So we're trying to get as much information out there to you and make sure the communication lines are open, because it'll be a lot happening and it'll be happening quickly. So we want to make sure we're keeping you all up to date on what's going on. So I think that gets to the end of it for me, Walt, and I'm happy to turn it back to you and be available to answer any questions if anybody's got any, or just follow up on anything.
All right. Well, thanks very much, Vince. We don't have Q&A available here, but if anyone has any questions, there's a contact us page on our website. You're welcome to reach out to us, and certainly encourage you to follow us on all of the social channels that we have at our disposal. And thank you very much, Vince, for joining us today and for sharing all that great information. So I'd like to acknowledge that the last 8 months have been pretty stressful for all airport users, especially employees. So it's very important during this time that we all practice self-care. That can include both physical and emotional well-being. So if we're not taking care of ourselves, it's really difficult for us to take care of our guests, obviously. So during our last event, we had Dr. Peter Borton, who is the co-owner of Dragon Tree Spa. And during his presentation, he shared some tips for how we can manage stress and improve our overall well-being. And the presentation was so well received by the audience and our working committee that we've decided to add a wellness segment to this event moving forward. So many of you know, but Vietnamese cuisine is really sought after and well known for its use of healthy ingredients. And today it's my honor to share a short tutorial on how to make one of my personal favorite Vietnamese dishes, the fresh roll. This video that we put together features one of our amazing business partners at PDX, Catherine Lam, who's president and co-owner of Bambuza Hospitality Group. Bambuza Hospitality operates Bambuza Vietnam Kitchen at PDX and also has another location coming on Concourse E in the not
Unmute, Walt.
Oh, excuse me. Sorry. I have myself on mute. Oh my goodness. So excuse me. So I guess what I would say, and Jesse, where did I drop off there? I'm going to go ahead and start from the beginning or read Catherine's slide there. So Bambuza Hospitality Group operates Bambuza Vietnam Kitchen in Portland International Airport, with a second location arriving on Concourse E in the not so distant future. Bambuza has also locations at SeaTac Airport and throughout the Portland metro region.
You did it again.
It's continuing to mute me. I'm sorry about that. Catherine's involved in the community where she mentors high school students. She's also earned a bachelor's degree in international business at Pacific Lutheran and holds an MBA from Marylhurst University. Catherine is engaged in public service as a Business Oregon Board Commissioner and as a newly appointed Port of Portland Commissioner, and lives in Lake Oswego with her family. So Catherine, since I know you're watching, it was great filming this with you, and I hope everyone enjoys. Thank you.
Don't let making meals at home scare you. It's not about trying to impress your friends with a fancy dinner party. It's about being creative with everyday groceries, It's about learning what foods you didn't know you liked before. And it's about cooking while no one's watching. There's no pressure. Hello everyone, I'm Catherine Lam, co-owner of Bambusa Vietnam Kitchen. I also serve on the Port of Portland Commission. And if you like me, I'm trying to readjust to the new realities of the pandemic. It's made many of us rethink about our daily routines, which has been an opportunity for our family to connect in different ways. One way to make things more interesting is to think about food, how we can make preparing meals at home to be a part of our new daily routine. And for today, I'd like to share a simple meals with you by making rolls at home. In our restaurants, we make them with rice paper, fresh vegetables, and shrimp or tofu. But at home, you can make them with whatever you and your family like to eat or would happen to have in your refrigerator. And to show you how easy it is, I'm going to make salad rolls. My goal is not to teach a cooking class. Instead, I like to share food tips and suggestions from my own experience. There's no right or wrong way of making roll, but here are some basic necessities to get it started. Rice paper, that should be in your kitchen cabinet staple and can be stored alongside with other essential like sugar and salt in a dry location. Next is the green lettuce. And again, you don't have to choose just green lettuce, but you can mix it up with spring mixed lettuce or butter leaf lettuce. In our traditional fillings, we also have basil or cilantro or mint. Herb just adds interest to your roll. Next is bean sprouts. Bean sprout is a traditional ingredient, but it has a love-hate relationship in my family, and especially my husband hates it. Vermicelli noodles as a carb fillings, but you can also substitute with pasta or rice, or you choose not to add it in completely. You can also add carrots or cucumbers, or even more kids-friendly bell peppers, or seasonal fillings such as asparagus or avocado. And for protein choices, we have here today shrimp, sauteed tofu, smoked salmon, but really you can switch it up with cooked meat like ham, turkey, whatever you have in your fridge. And it's always good with dipping sauce traditionally, and it's best with peanut sauce, but also soy sauce or sweet chili sauce or fish sauce pair really well with salad roll. First is you want to slightly dampen the rice paper with lukewarm water. Do not soak the rice paper. It's still hard, easy to move around, and don't rush it. Let it sit, and then while you do your fillings, just carry your conversations, and eventually it will soften. And when it's soft, it's so easy because every roll is gonna stick, and then you can really tuck it in and tighten it as you go. Next, you want to add the first layer of fillings, which is the green lettuce, and this will help you hold other ingredients together. Then I usually choose my protein right now. And first I'm going to demonstrate the traditional roll, which is shrimp salad rolls. So I pick out the shrimp and lay it. It's almost like a two tiers layers. Then I would add basil as my base herb. And again, you can really choose to fill in either mint or cilantro or none at all. And I like to add some bean sprout. Next, I'm going to add some carrots to it. Then some of the noodles. So when you roll it, on the ends, you either can flip it in or you can leave it out. But in order to handle it without a lot of spilling, I would suggest you folding it on both ends. So I just completed the first roll. The rules is don't overfill the roll. Come back for a second round, rolling many small rolls versus one large roll. We live in a very challenging time. It's a pandemic, and nobody budgeted at the beginning of the year. This is coming. We went through a process of sad nervous, of scared, but also to reflect our life, our inventory in terms of love, relationship, and what is important to our life. The people at our company, the people at the port has come together as a community to really show support. We can do this together. We will weather this storm together, and we are here for each other.
All right, hopefully everyone enjoyed that as much as I enjoyed filming it with Catherine. That was a lot of fun. We've now come to the awards part of the presentation, or the event, which is very exciting for me. As many of you know, our airport-wide customer service program, known as PDX People, launched in February of 2010. The program has representatives from all 10 industries at PDX. We have almost 30 members on our working committee who are really the grassroots foundation of the program. Typically what I would do is I would invite everyone to the front of the room, all of our working committee members, but since that's not possible, I'd like to just thank you from where you're at, hopefully on your couch. I'd also like to say that in the interest of physical distancing, we've mailed out all the award certificates to all of the winners, and we've also sent certificates and gift cards to the nominees as well. So we've included photos of the winners on the slide so you can celebrate these individuals when you see them in the terminal. We've also been adding the stories and pictures to our FIDS monitors, our flight information displays. Once the flights have cleared off for the day, we actually are acknowledging those folks in the terminal as well, which is very exciting and a recent change. So without any further ado, it's my honor to introduce Shannon MacArthur, who's our beloved program coordinator with the Port of Portland, and she's going to present today's awards part of the presentation. So without any further ado, take it away, Shannon.
Thanks, Walt. It's my honor today to be able to share the stories of PDX employees who put customer service first. Today, we celebrate their achievements as champions of our PDX People values and spirit. As PDX People, we're friendly, we're knowledgeable, and we're respectful. This extends to our quarterly customer service awards, not just in the actions that we honor, but in how we treat our honorees. If an individual asks that their name or photo not be shared, we will respect their wishes and continue to honor them and their extraordinary work in a less public manner. Let's get right to it. In the airlines category, Carmen Matthews with Alaska Airlines. This nomination comes from Salima in port operations. A passenger was getting ready to board an outbound flight and was in distress because he needed milk for his child, but all the concessionaires were closed for the night. I gave Carmen a call because I knew they had a vending machine in the Alaska village. Not only was Carmen willing to check for milk, but she purchased 2 containers with her own money. She went above and beyond for a customer in distress and did it with so much grace. I was able to get the milk to the passenger right before the aircraft door was closed. Thank you, Carmen, for saving the day. And I'll just add that I bet all the other passengers on that flight to Atlanta also thank Carmen that they didn't have to listen to a screaming toddler the entire way. Let's give Carmen a hand. Walt, can you help me out there?
Woo, yeah!
Up next in the car rental category is Dennis Volchank. A passenger recently made the following comment about her September car rental experience. The staff at Dollar Rent-A-Car was friendly and timely, which I appreciated, but the best part of the experience happened after I returned the vehicle. After I had checked my baggage at the airline desk, I discovered a very sentimental charm was missing. I suspected it had fallen out of my pocket in the car. I quickly returned to the Dollar car rental counter, and a very nice representative called the car wash area to find the car I had returned. The person cleaning the car, Dennis, immediately brought the car back to the return area, and we found my charm. It was against all the odds and so wonderful. Thank you for the great service. Thanks, Dennis. Let's give Dennis a hand. Well, thank you. Next up in the concession. Next up in the concessions food and beverage category is Jody Martini with Capers Cafe at the bar. Daryl, a recent traveler, left a large tip, he sure did, and a kind message on his credit card receipt reading, Jody gave 5-star service. She has such a wonderful attitude and kindness. Capers co-owner Annette Jolie adds, Jody was one of the first employees we brought back after the layoffs in March. Her positive, helpful spirit has always been her strong suit, and now in these times it is especially essential and very much appreciated. Always a smile, always helpful and courteous, always willing to do whatever it takes to do her job, both for her employer and for the customers and passengers. I would love to bottle her spirit and share it with others. And I'll add, Annette, with a name like Jody Martini, I think you should bottle her spirit. I expect to see it on your menu soon. All right, let's give Jody a hand. Woo, yeah! Great. In the concessions, retail, and services category, Lisa, with Tender Loving Empire. Augie, who is the store manager at TLE, sent in this nomination. During the intense week of the California and Oregon wildfires overtaking the air quality in Portland, I had the pleasure of observing Lisa at work. Around day 3 of the AQI levels being off the charts, I stopped by the store to check on Lisa. I saw a pretty disheveled looking mom and her 10-year-old son wandering around the store looking lost and tired. When they got up to the counter, the child started talking with Lisa. He told her he never thought he would have to leave his house the way that he did, and revealed he had lost his home in the fires. Lisa started to comfort him. She asked if his family was okay and reminded him just how important being alive and safe with his family was. And she reassured his mother as well. As they were leaving, the boy thanked Lisa for listening. I'm just going to stop there for a second. Anybody that has children and has had a 10-year-old child, the fact that he stopped to thank Lisa for listening tells you the impact of her interaction with him. Lisa told him if he's ever scared about what's happening, that he should talk about it with someone, and it will always make him feel better. The happiness and relief he felt from his interaction with Lisa was written all over his face. Augie says, I hope in the darkest of times we can look back at the comfort Lisa provided him. She's a stellar example of the kind of people that make PDX such a special place to travel through. I couldn't agree more. I've known Lisa for a few years now, and she wears her heart on her sleeve, and it makes a really meaningful impact with everyone, travelers, employees, people that have the pleasure of coming into contact with her. So Lisa, job well done. Let's give her a hand. Woo, yeah! Next up in the federal category, John Mayagenton. I'm sorry, John, I should have done better. With the Transportation Security Administration. A passenger recently wrote in to compliment John. John was very polite and very professional. He was incredibly kind and took the time to communicate with professionalism and compassion. Please hire more people like him. And I will just add that as someone who responds to customer phone calls, the number of complaint calls always far outweigh compliments. That's not because we're doing things wrong. It's just human nature that people want to air their grievances. So that's why when somebody actually takes the time and effort to express a compliment, it means that that person was really affected in a positive and meaningful way. So thank you, John, for putting the PDX core customer service values into practice. Let's give him a hand. Yeah, John! Up next in the ground transportation and parking category, Nellie Bruno with SP Plus Corporation. Nellie's supervisor, Bob Hine, sent in this nomination. He sent it in for her dedication to caring for her team. As we approach the end of the year, he says, we encouraged all of our supervisory staff to take any vacation time that they have left before the end of the year so they do not lose it. With our limited staffing due to the pandemic, this would have been difficult if not for Nellie. Nellie has gladly filled in for any supervisor on any shift and on any day of the week to ensure that they can take their much needed vacations. Nellie's worked both day shift and swing shift in the same week, and she's even worked graveyard shifts and has worked 7 days straight. Wow. Nellie has also stood in for Bob himself as the manager on duty in his absence. She is truly an asset to this organization and deserving of the quarterly customer service award. I can't agree more, Bob. Nellie Bruno is part of our PDX People Working Committee. She's been part of this organization and these efforts for many, many years. Nellie, you have a heart of gold. Thanks so much. Let's give her a hand.
Yeah, we love you, Nellie! Woo!
In the Port Services category, John Wilson, Port of Portland, Parking Control Representative. Another PDX employee writes in and says, on June 27th at about 12:45 p.m. on the lower roadway, I watched from Island 3 as PCR John Wilson changed a customer's flat tire. That's something he could have easily called SP Plus to do, but he did it on his own to provide a high level of customer service to the traveler. He was quick and professional, and the traveler looked very happy. He was able to get traffic moving again and this passenger on their way. Great job, John. Let's give John a hand.
Woo, yeah, John!
In the support services category, Patrick Croteau with G2. This is really an extraordinary recognition. We don't see a lot of these coming from our safety and security team, but Atithi Barth, who is our senior manager of security operations, wanted to make sure that Patrick was recognized. She says, I would like to take this opportunity to recognize Mr. Patrick Croteau for his thoroughness when addressing a security situation. On September 30th, Patrick engaged with an individual who did not have proper security credentials on the ramp. Very quickly in the conversation, Patrick realized that he was dealing with a distressed individual who did not have access authority to be in a secured area. Thanks to Patrick's respectful and composed demeanor, he was able to gain the individual's trust and persuade him to head to a public area of the terminal where they could get some help. Because of his critical thinking skills, strong knowledge of the security procedures and protocols at PDX, and courteous conduct, the situation was handled without further escalation. Patrick kept the individual in his line of sight until the police arrived and could take over. Patrick calmly explained the situation to the police officers and provided thorough details of the incident, all of which was very helpful for the police in resolving the matter without delay. Thank you so much, Patrick, for a job well done. Hats off to you, Patrick. I don't think that I would have kept my wits about me like you did. That is entirely and amazingly pretty much the perfect response that any of us could ask for with a security issue like that. Thank you. Let's give Patrick a huge round of applause. Walt.
Yeah, Patrick, you're the best! Woo!
In our team award category, Jose Aguilar and Maria Castaneda, both with Alaska Airlines. On July 18th, Jose and Maria were awaiting an inbound aircraft for wheelchair assistance when the cries of a small child in a neighboring boarding area could be heard. Maria and Jose rushed to the child to see what was causing the child's distress. Once at the scene, they realized the child's leg was somehow wedged between the seats. Right, somehow. How do kids do these sorts of things? It's like 1 second the parent looks away and they get into trouble. After first calling emergency personnel, Jose, Maria, and a passenger in the boarding area worked to try to pull the seats apart to free the child's leg, but their efforts were unsuccessful. While awaiting for emergency personnel to arrive, Jose quickly ran next door to Henry's Tavern, asked for some cooking oil, and although the employee at Henry's was a little confused about Jose's unusual request, they obliged. Jose rushed back to the youngster and was able to free the child's leg using the oil. Both the child and the parents were, of course, shaken up a bit, but Maria was able to calm everyone down in time for them to board their flight. I'd like to commend their calm and collective actions in coming to the rescue of this child in such a quick and caring manner. Thanks to Maria and Jose for being such wonderful Samaritans. Let's give them a hand.
Yeah, Maria, yeah, Jose, woo, yeah!
And finally, every once in a while, although it seems to be becoming a pretty standard thing around here, we have the pleasure of recognizing several PDX employees, all port employees this time by chance, for a Lifesaver Award. And this means that these individuals, their actions actually contributed to saving the life of a person at PDX. And in this particular situation, it happened to be a PDX employee. On Friday afternoon, July 17th, a call came in regarding a tenant contractor vehicle that had been left on site after hours. Few phone calls and a little investigation revealed that it had been left because a construction employee, Kevin, had experienced a medical emergency and was taken to the hospital. Kevin was working out on the tarmac by Concourse E. While it was hot and he was wearing a mask, he was not doing anything he considered particularly strenuous, but noticed that his heart rate was quite accelerated. He decided to go inside for a break and get some water. Good call, Kevin. He sat in an empty hold room, but after 20 minutes, his heart was still racing, and he decided he needed to get a second opinion on what to do. He decided to go over to the front of the terminal where Port Police parked their vehicles, knowing that someone was likely to come by there. Kevin spotted Officer Skip Baker near the vehicles and described what he was experiencing. Officer Baker knew immediately what to do. He called emergency personnel, and while talking with Tracy Bowser, the dispatcher, collected information that was pertinent for the EMTs arriving on the scene. So arriving on the scene, Michael Dayton, Levi Favara, Ryan Stapleton, Tyler Thompson, Brandon Yu, and Ashley Yukich all arrived within a few minutes. And an EEG determined that Kevin's heart rate was in excess of 200 BPMs. I'm not an emergency personnel, but that sounds really, really high to me. They decided it was, in fact, a life-threatening situation. Kevin recalls seeing the EMT's faces and reaction, and he realized at that point it was very serious. Paramedics began immediate treatment and quickly got Kevin into the ambulance. During the entire event, Officer Baker comforted and reassured Kevin, made phone calls to notify Kevin's wife and his employer, and stayed with him right up until the ambulance doors closed. Kevin was in the hospital for 3 days and has since made a full recovery. He and his family are tremendously thankful to Officer Baker and the other first responders for their help. Kevin says, "I do believe that the actions of Officer Baker probably saved my life. I cannot express my gratitude enough for his quick actions. My family and I owe him huge thanks." So Officer Baker and all the first responders, Tracy, let's give them a big round of applause.
Yeah, woo!
And at this point, we've concluded our recognition. I'm going to hand it back over to Walt for a few closing words.
All right, thank you, Shannon. So before we wrap up, like Shannon mentioned, I just want to have a couple comments. First and foremost, please go to the employee website if you haven't already done so. There's lots of great resources on there. Also, we have a weekly newsletter that's going out. Shannon puts that together and it's awesome. So there's a way to sign up for that by going to the employee website. So flypdx.com/employees will take you there. And last, I'd like to personally thank all of our award winners for today, as well as the nominees for a job well done. We appreciate all of you, and we look forward to seeing you again in January. Thanks again, everybody. Goodbye.